Do you want to publish an app on the App Store, or do you want to make some passive income from an app that you can create? Are you interested in monetizing some of your ideas on the App Store? Hey, this is Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps. Let's get into my DevLog where we talk about Brew Coffee, my publishing schedule, and how I plan on promoting my app on the App Store. Today is a great day to start that journey, and I want to talk about my own experience, and then I want to talk about this course from Antoine that really has inspired me to get off my butt and publish some of my apps and update them and do a little bit more. So I've been on a trend of working on projects and then getting distracted and then working on something else, or work has taken priority. And so I haven't always finished things that I've started. And one of those is my coffee app. And I use this on a daily basis. My parents use this on a daily basis. I have about, looks like I have 4,977 people who have subscribed in order to try the beta. And that's all from some videos that I've published on YouTube. So I've cut 2 coffee recipe videos, and all I've done to acquire people interested in it is have a little link here to this sign up form. And if you click on this sign up form, it should take you to this page, and you just type in your name, your email, and you hit download. And so I've amassed a large list of people. Now, not everyone is warm, so like there's going to be some churn because I haven't emailed this list in a really long time, and not everyone has had the best experience because I haven't updated the app beyond extending the beta. It's been in a beta for at least 8 years, and I've never published it because I think I got into this perfectionism rut, and then every other thing was always taking priority. So this is a super simple app. I probably made it in about 2 weeks, and it doesn't do everything. It doesn't have tons of fancy things, but it's very good and effective at guiding me through the recipe for either Hario V60 or Chemex. And I get much better results when I use the app because it keeps me focused. It keeps me on track. Probably the biggest thing when we're talking about coffee is your focus. If you're distracted watching a YouTube video, or if you are trying to multitask with messages, talking to someone, and you're trying to pour over coffee, one of these 2 sort of fancy pour over techniques, then it's going to be really difficult to get that to come out well. So this was an app that I came up with in my sort of exploration of playing around with pour over coffee, and I want to publish it. So Antoine's course From Side Project to Going Indie has inspired me to set a deadline to try and get some of these features that have been long requested by my beta users and get it published and out the door so that I can, number one, start iterating on it more. Like this is all, I guess there's a bunch of Swift code now. Originally, I don't remember if I wrote any of this in Objective-C. I might have, but it looks like it's a lot of Swift code now. And so iOS has changed a lot over the years. Every new device always adds complexity and more things that you have to handle, and that can be a little bit overwhelming at times when you're juggling different things. So my goal is to work towards shipping this by September 4th, which gives me about a little over 4 weeks. And I've got a plan where I'm working on save logic, which is something that has been heavily missed by all of my beta testers, and it's probably why they stopped using the app. I want to have subscription. Like the pricing model for a long time was what was holding me back. I didn't know how I wanted to charge for this. My paid apps started to get less traction because people want free trials. So subscription is really like the only solution here. I have had customers want to have custom recipes. I want to have custom recipes. Like right now I have to edit anytime I want to make a different recipe. There's only 2 recipes in the app. And so that can be frustrating, and it doesn't persist those changes to disk. So if the app gets terminated due to low memory, then you have to reset all of your settings, and it's super annoying. And I've had lots of complaints about that, but it's always had the 2 recipes that I've used for the longest time. And it's only this past maybe year and a half that I've deviated from my recipe. And when I started doing that, it was because my wife started drinking more coffee. I had to make bigger batches of coffee, or I had to do 2 pour overs at the same time. And it was just more work. So now I'm feeling the pain of not having the recipe that I want in the app persisted. So that's what I'm working on. And then I want to do some onboarding things. Like, my whole goal with making this is I published a video on how to do pour over coffee, and I think that was super helpful. I've learned a lot over the years, and I think that both the utility of the app and some educational content is really going to make this a good app on the App Store. And I don't know how much money it can make, but I do know that it's something that I would want to continue using on a perpetual basis, just because it improves my cup of coffee. So those are the 4 things that I'm working on to get this started. The app sort of looks like this. If I go ahead and run it, we can pull it up on the simulator, and you have 2 different brew recipes. I need to make this, so this is hard-coded to just 2 recipes. This really needs to be a collection view so that I can have multiple recipes. This needs to allow me to edit those recipes. I do have recipe details that I built this whole custom thing. I think this was all before SwiftUI. So this is all UIKit stuff, custom logic. I kind of want to do this in SwiftUI, but I don't know if I want to recreate these controls in SwiftUI. So I might just include this as like a little UIKit widget and expose it so that I can customize this. I needed a control. So like, one of the challenges is I needed a control that allowed for really big different time ranges. And so I couldn't use a normal slider. And so this was kind of my solution of having like a stepper functionality, but also have the ability to sort of shift this around, because I don't know the constraints of the recipe, like how much it's going to be. And that's why everything sort of defaults back to the center. There's some animation here. There's a fun little widget. I don't know if there's a better control here, but this sort of makes sense right now. And it's kind of got a unique style to it. This allows me to control the coffee in grams. Everything's sort of scientific. We're doing a chemistry experiment here to make pour over coffee. And you can control the ratio, which adjusts how strong or how weak the coffee is. So for a Chemex, I typically do a 17:1. The bloom ratio is the initial wetting of the coffee. So that is the app. Once you hit start, we've got some sound effects. It'll walk you through the stages. There's the bloom, the pour, the drain. And all this app is, it's very simple, is it tells you what weight you need to be at. It's not fancy. It doesn't connect to a special Bluetooth scale. I do have a special Bluetooth scale, but I've tried apps that do that, and I don't enjoy the experience, especially when it can't connect to Bluetooth. So it's a really frustrating experience. So I think being just a dumb water weight target helps so much. So when this is going up, you're not always pouring, but it's giving you a pace to sort of match. And so that's kind of the premise of the app. And it keeps me on track. So my goal is to publish this by next month. I've got other apps that I've been working on, but I haven't set like a publishing goal or an update deadline in a long time. And I think what I need to do is really focus that. And that's where I really think this course from Antoine is helping me think about that process. And I'll have a link down below for this course. If you use the link that I've got, it's an affiliate link, so I will earn a little commission from it. And I'll probably talk about his course in a separate video. But this is just a really good course on sort of getting into planning mindset, productivity and focus, marketing and growth, some case studies, and some resources that you can leverage. So this is getting me to like think about, okay, like how can I ship this app? How can I get this out the door? Now, I did experiment a bit with having a separate YouTube channel just for Brew Coffee, and I've got a very small subscriber audience there of 136 subscribers. And I know that that's something that if I started publishing more videos, that's a good marketing channel for this app. So if you're thinking about an app, I would consider using YouTube as a marketing tool to teach something and become sort of a thought leader in that space, and then build a utility around that. And that's kind of my goal for the apps that I want to work on, is like provide some value and provide educational content and do it all sort of together. So that's kind of my plan. The thing, so just to sort of give you a summary of like what I've been working on, and this is slower than I'd like, but the past week and a half I've been working with SwiftData and CloudKit, and I'll be sharing some content related to that just because I'm learning different things. I've never used this before. This is my first time using SwiftData, and then sort of integrating it with CloudKit. So now we're in the drain phase. This is a little animation widget that I want to redo. Right now it's hard-coded. It's just a static XIB file or nib file, and I just cycle through the different phases. Like, there's no animation. I think that's this guy. So there's just 4 different states, and I just hands laid out all of this. There's not even auto layout. It's just using, I think, the positioning. So that's all this is. That's something I want to animate, and I have animated. I have a version in a Swift Playground that's animated, but I need to have a dynamic amount of pour stages, because certain recipes, like if I want to do a 4-6 Hario V60, I need different pour values here. And so I can't do that recipe with the current format. So there's things that I have to update in order to support more complicated recipes. By and large, this is my go-to recipe format. I just have sort of one big pour phase, but different people want different things for those different recipes. Or if you want to do like a cold brew, like probably need some stages in that as well, because there's probably like a shake it with ice stage that's going to be post drain. So those are things to think about. But I don't need to get super complicated. Like I just need to publish this app with 2 recipes, have the ability to hopefully get some custom recipes. And that's kind of what I'm working for on my recipe demo. So this is me sort of thinking about like, how do I need to change things? So this is now finished the drain, and now it's time to drink it if it's finished draining. Sometimes it's not finished draining. So that's my app, and what I'm working on is like extracting and sort of cleaning up some stuff. So like super quick, using user defaults to source some app settings. Like this was all sort of in one recipe object, and I'm trying to extract it and make it easier to maintain and make it make more sense. And also like supporting ounces versus milliliters and stuff like that. So I've got some preliminary stuff here. I've also been playing around with the new Swift test. So I've got some new unit tests here that are using the new test macro and the expect, and this is like super awesome. I'm going to have a different video on this at some point. It's just so nice to see the output. Like if I were to, an approximately equal, this is coming from numerics. This is the only way to do it right now. There's an approximately equal in XC test, but it doesn't exist in Swift testing. So if I change this and insert like a 5 here, whoops. one of my favorite things is getting actual differences right here. Even if I'm using approximately equal, it tells me the value and the actual, which is super helpful. So I can see, oh, it's very different. There's something wrong here. Yeah. But then I've got my coffee recipe, which I've made codable. I've made it so that it's a Swift data model, so I can sync it. There's certain things that are transient that I've annotated here. I've got some enum values, potentially going to have some relationships with the stages for the pour stages, but I don't have that in. That's probably not going to be a priority for the initial release. That's going to be something that I have to migrate the data model to. And then I've been playing around with the UI. I was debating, like, do I keep any of the existing UIKit stuff, or do I rewrite it in SwiftUI? And there's sort of like some growing pains here where I want to show a SwiftUI view. So this is a UIKit view, just as a demo of, like, can I do this where I can customize the coffee weight. If I hit cancel, it won't save it. If I click back in here and I lift this up and I hit save, it's going to save it to 64. And then if we do this and I hit save, it's going to be up to 70. I also have undo in here, which is kind of exciting. So I can undo some of those changes. This can be really gnarly when you're dealing with a coffee recipe and you don't really know what you're doing and you accidentally bump something. So I'm debating on having an undo feature in the app so that you can undo some of those things. And then I got this hooked up to CloudKit. I've got it disabled right now because as you're making changes, it becomes a little bit tricky, but I've got a CloudKit integration. I've got a simple data store that it's putting the data on. And then in the app, I can just turn it on and off by commenting out this line. So if I set the CloudKit database to none, it won't sync anything. Otherwise, it will use whatever's in the entitlements file, which I think is here. So I'll just use this. And there's certain design choices you have to consider. So, like, I'm probably not going to ship with Cloud Sync, but I'm really excited to have the feature because it's like, if I've got the recipe on one of my iOS devices, say it's on my iPhone, I really want those recipes synced to my iPad so that if my iPhone is dead or not with me, I can use my iPad to brew a cup of coffee. So that's kind of exciting. So I'm playing around with that. And it was actually pretty simple. So I'm super excited for that. And that's kind of like the next step for me. That's kind of like an update on one of my apps. I really want to update my Super Easy Timer app. I just haven't had any time. I also use that one on a daily basis. That's this app here. I'll set a work time for like 25 minutes and just press enter. So I can just write 25, press enter, gives me that timer. If I want a 5-minute break, I just do 5, press enter. Super simple to start a timer. I've got some new stuff that I've been prototyping. That's going to take that to the next level, but that's a separate product, and I need to focus on the coffee app before I focus on the timer app. So that's my little quick update. If this was interesting, or if you want to ask questions about some of the stuff with Swift data or Swift testing, or one of the really cool things I did, I couldn't figure out how to do reordering with Swift data. I needed to be able to maintain the sort order. And this is what I just figured out today. So I'm super excited about this. Somewhere in here, I added functionality to rearrange based on the sort order, and then supporting the move. There's some edge cases that you have to deal with, but now I can just rearrange. And this is really important because when I was at GoPro, we had the functionality where the most recently used camera would become the first one. And I always found that a little bit frustrating because where I remembered the camera to be, it wasn't always there. So I think you have to be careful with that. And so I was playing around with having multiple recipes, but when you start changing them and the date modified changes or something, and then you're sorting by the most recently modified, it starts rearranging your recipes. And if you've seen my interface, back over here, this screen, old iPhone, that's super tiny. If these were to flip-flop and move around and you had a whole list of them, that would, to me, be frustrating because it's not where I remember the recipe being. And so I wanted to be more intentional about that. And so I figured out how to do that today so that I can rearrange a recipe. So I can put 31 up top. Once I hit done, it stays in that spot. And then if we rerun the app, force quit it, 70 should still be there. We add a couple more. If we were to bring this down, boom, done. Quit the app. 70 should be at the bottom. And it's not. Oh no. I'm not saving it. Okay. I forgot to hit save, or I did something weird there. Interesting. Well, it's half working. As with development, there's always things that you figure out. Okay, so that didn't quite work. We'll fix that. But like, I'm on the right track, and that's the important thing, and I've made progress. Sort of going off on all this progress, what I'm doing now is I'm using, what's it called? This time tracking, hours tracker. So on my iPhone, there's this little icon down at the bottom called hours tracker. And my only goal is to spend like 4 hours of solid coding. And I don't really care what coding I'm doing, but at the moment, I'm not working for anyone else. I'm still searching for a job. And so my goal is to hit 4 hours a day of like hardcore coding, no interruptions. So that's the other big thing for me, is like really controlling focus. And I'll talk more about that in another video. So thanks for watching. If this was helpful, hit the like button. If you have questions, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.